Could we see a huge goalie trade involving the New Jersey Devils and the Toronto Maple Leafs? We'll discuss that possible scenario that could unfold at the draft. Plus, we also have updates from the Memorial Cup. We have Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final coming up tonight. We also have more news out of the Boston coaching search, as well as the AHL playoffs have come to a close. We have some new Calder Cup champions. We'll discuss all that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and some trade rumors to take a look at here today. First up, we had Game 6 coming up tonight. We could see the Stanley Cup be the second shot here for the Colorado Avalanche to clinch victory and become the 2022 NHL Stanley Cup champions. We saw the Lightning come out with a really good effort in Game 5 and stave off elimination. And now we're back to Tampa for Game 6 here this evening. Of course, we could see a different Avalanche lineup. It is expected that the Lightning will have the same lineup. Braden Point is still considered out. He's not going to be able to go tonight. But on the Avalanche side of things, there is some concern over Val Nichushkin. He has been seen limping, and Jared Bednar said he was hopeful he'd be able to play, but you know, it's not a confirmed thing. It might be a game time decision. They really weren't clear. It sounds like there's a decent chance that Burakovsky goes tonight as well. So if the Avalanche are at full strength, I think they probably had a lot of nerves in the last game. First chance for majority of them to ever clinch a Stanley Cup. It's important that they get this done tonight. If I was the Avalanche, I would not want to be going to Game 7 against a two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. They've proven time and time again that you just can never count them out. And when you have an opportunity to eliminate them, you have to do it, or you're going to be paying the price here. So to me, as much as a fan, I would love to see a 7-game series and have it come right down to the wire. That would be great entertainment. But for the Avalanche's sake, I think it's best that they try to take care of business as soon as possible. And we will see. Should be a great, entertaining hockey game for sure. So we'll see if Stanley comes out this evening or not. We have some big updates from the Memorial Cup, of course, going on in St. John, New Brunswick. The battle of junior hockey supremacy in Canada. Of course, we had the Edmonton Oil Kings, Hamilton Bulldogs, and Shawinigan Cataracts, the respective league champions across the country, the Western OHL and QMJHL, and of course the host St. John Sea Dogs, who had a bit of an upset losing out early in the Quebec playoffs, and obviously, you know, it's not what they wanted. They were expected to go deep here and make a run for it. That's why they wanted to host, not just to get to the tournament, because they thought they could win, and things are going well for them. The Edmonton Oil Kings have been eliminated. Round-robin play is now complete. We saw the Hamilton Bulldogs defeat the Edmonton Oil Kings back on Friday to wrap things up as far as who was moving on and who was going home. So there's no tiebreaker. So we have 4 teams. We're down to 3 now. Edmonton won 1 game in overtime, and they lost 2 games in regulation. So it's the 3-2-1 system this year. 3 points regulation win, 2 points for overtime win, 1 point for overtime loss, 0 points for regulation loss. So ultimately, the Oil Kings are done. The St. John Sea Dogs, now they played their final game against the Shawinigan Cataracts yesterday, and it was an awesome game. The winner would be in first place and get a direct bye right to the Memorial Cup final, where the other team would have to face off against the Hamilton Bulldogs in the semifinal. Things got off to a bad start in the first period with the Sea Dogs, going down 3-0 early to Shawinigan. Maverick Bork and Xavier Bergot was going to work here for Shawinigan and got off to a hot start. An end of one was not looking good for St. John, but they had a remarkable second period. That building was electric, and the fans were going nuts. We saw them score 4 consecutive goals to take a 4-3 lead. 4 goals by William Dufour, the Islanders prospect, who's having himself one heck of a tournament. He was the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League MVP this year, scored over 50 goals, which is the first time we've seen that in a while in this league. And now he's got, you know, a lot of goals here in this tournament as well, and on pace to possibly be a Memorial Cup MVP if they were to go on and win. Even if they don't win, he'll be in the conversation for sure. Flames prospect Jeremy Poirier also scored on the power play, and that ended up being Poirier's goal, actually ended up being the winner. But we saw 3 consecutive goals from Dufour, Poirier's goal, and then Dufour adds another one for his 4th for a 5-3 Sea Dog victory. So after getting down early, they were the comeback kids here today, or yesterday I should say, and really put on one heck of a performance. So they'll now go directly to the final, which will be on Wednesday. They're going to get a few days off. The other teams get a day off here today. They will play tomorrow. So you're going to have Hamilton against Shawinigan in the semifinal. So you're going to have players like Mason McTavish on one side, Maverick Bork and Xavier Bergot on the other side. They will do battle for the right to play St. John, the host team, of course, here in the Memorial Cup final on Wednesday. It's been a heck of a tournament here so far. We're getting close to the end, but obviously the host team, St. John Sea Dogs, have a heck of a chance here to be Memorial Cup champions, even though they were upset early in their league playoffs, and except they're being led by William Dufour, who's turning himself into a heck of a prospect here for the New York Islanders. Like, he's definitely going pro next year. He has his ELC signed, and he's getting to the end of his junior career. He won't be eligible next year, so he's, like I said, he's got the size. He's like 6'3", 6'4", over 200 pounds. He's got a heck of a shot. Battles hard as a power forward style of game, and I'd be interested to see how that translates at the pro level once he gets to make the jump here next year. So hopefully many of you are watching the Memorial Cup. It's been great hockey, a lot of good glimpses to the future too with some of these top prospects going head to head here. Now, we also got word as well in Boston organization, a couple of updates. One, the Don Sweeney extension to remain as general manager for an extended period of time. We don't know how many years, probably 3 or 4 years, is complete. We don't have the full contract details, but the Boston media are reporting that is now done. Sweeney and Cam Neely had both commented on this at the end of their season, that it was in the works and expected to be done but wasn't done yet. And we also got word that they seem to be getting close to naming a new head coach after dismissing Bruce Cassidy. It sounds like Jay Leach and David Quinn are the two finalists. According to different Boston media, it sounds like Quinn might be the favorite here. There's some reports, and I haven't been able to confirm 100% here, but it sounds like David Quinn, some are saying that he's met with ownership. And if you've made it that far to meet ownership, then I think you're probably getting the job, or at least you've been offered the job. So we'll see. Of course, Quinn, of course, familiar to the area, having coached college hockey there, of course, coached the New York Rangers. Jay Leach, obviously, currently coaching with Seattle, formerly a Bruin in the past. We'll see where this goes, but one of those two gentlemen should be the next head coach for the Boston Bruins, and it sounds like I said, it sounds like Quinn might be the favorite here. So we'll see. It wouldn't be shocking if they make an announcement in the next 1 to 2 days and go from there. Now, tomorrow is also a huge day. It's Hockey Hall of Fame announcement day. The Hockey Hall of Fame committee is meeting tomorrow in person. I believe that's the first time they're doing that here in a couple years, and they will determine the class of 2022. A couple of the top guys that are available here include the Sedin twins. Henrik and Daniel are eligible first time this year after retiring. Of course, they had a great career. A few individual awards in there as well. Roberto Luongo is also eligible this year, befitting if all of them former Canucks went in together. Former Senators captain Daniel Alfredsson also expected to be a greater chance to get in this year than in the past. I know I've seen a major movement on Twitter from the Sens fans trying to make this happen. Obviously, he's a well-deserved, accomplished individual player himself. To me, he should be in. I think the one thing that's missing is didn't win like a Hart Trophy or an Art Ross or a Stanley Cup, but individually, like, he's got better stats in the regular season and the playoffs than the Sedins. The only thing is they have a couple extra trophies. Now, none of them have won Stanley Cup, so that's even playing field. But Luongo, as much as he doesn't have a Stanley Cup, he's really ranked super high in a lot of all-time goaltending categories. So we'll see. There could be some females in there as well. Like I know former Olympian and current broadcaster Jennifer Bottrell is eligible, and she could be one, and there's some others as well. So it'll be interesting to see what gets announced here tomorrow and who is going to be part of the 2022 class in the Hall of Fame. There's also several other people and players that I've mentioned here that have been eligible for some time and didn't get in on their first number of opportunities. So still lots of players there. Rod Brindamore, Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk, just to name a bunch. There's several others. Curtis Joseph, Chris Osgood. There's lots of people debated about over and over again here, and a lot of these players have good careers, and there's a difference between good and great, and the Hall isn't for everybody, unfortunately, but we'll see what happens here tomorrow. Like as I mentioned as well, the Chicago Wolves are your 2022 Calder Cup champions. The American Hockey League playoffs, which obviously is a major contributor to feeding players and prospects into the NHL. This is the Carolina Hurricanes affiliate franchise in the AHL. Formerly, of course, used to be the Charlotte Checkers. They moved that last year. It's the first year in Chicago for being the Canes affiliate. The team has been there for some time. First time being a Canes affiliate, but the Carolina Hurricanes American Hockey League teams in the last number of years have had a ton of success. So this is not surprising, but of course led by a few goalies like Alex Lyon and Peter Kochetkov. We saw him at the NHL level. Alex Lyon has previous NHL experience, not a ton of it, but obviously he was in net for the Calder Cup clinching game. Josh Levo, former NHLer, who's been kind of going back and forth between NHL and AHL the last few years. All American Hockey League this past year really was the MVP of the playoffs. I'm surprised he's not in the NHL, to be honest, because even when he was getting regular NHL minutes and opportunities to be in the lineup, he was still, for the most part, generally a 30 to 40 point player there for a few years, and things just kind of fell off, and things didn't work out for him really when he went to Calgary, and now here he is in Carolina. I would think with this performance that he'll get more of an NHL opportunity next year. At least I would think so. A few of their top prospects, besides the goalie that I mentioned, of course, it includes Jack Drury as well, who had a real solid season down there. Stefan Nason, another longtime vet who's got a decent amount of NHL experience under his belt, also a good veteran player for them to help them secure this championship. And they even have Richard Panik as well, who's actually an Islanders player who's on loan to the Chicago Wolves. So he played a chunk of the year at Bridgeport for the Islanders and then was loaned over to the Chicago Wolves, and he was part of the championship team here as well. Now, as I mentioned, there is reports that we could see a possible goalie trade. This could be involving the Maple Leafs and the New Jersey Devils. Now, of course, in one scenario, we have a UFA goalie, and on the other side, we have a goalie who signed for 1 year. This could be a swap, though. If the Maple Leafs get closer to the draft, and which is not too far from free agency, and if Jack Campbell remains unsigned, if they remain far enough apart that they're going to be, if they start losing confidence that they can get a deal done, New Jersey is expected to be a big player for Campbell, and I don't think he's their only goalie on their list here. I would think that the Devils are going to be possibly in on a few other goalies as well. Like, that's one of the major areas of upgrades that they need to look at this offseason. GM Tom Fitzgerald is expected to be pretty aggressive this year between possibly making a few trades and getting into free agency. Of course, they're picking number 2 at the NHL draft as well, so they could get themselves a heck of a prospect, or they could get themselves a heck of a current player if they trade the pick. There's, obviously quite open about the fact that they're looking at all options here, and they're open to trading it. So hard to say where things go, but either way, they could be making a big splash, adding an excellent player one way or another with that selection. And of course, like I said, you've got free agency, where there's going to be players like Johnny Gaudreau that they're expected to want to talk to if he makes it there. And then of course there's goaltending, who they've been pretty unhappy with Mackenzie Blackwood. The last couple of years he's been struggling, partially due to injury, and I think part of it is his game as well. It's not all injuries, but that certainly has played a role. And of course, like the last 2 years just haven't been kind to him. And of course they have Jonathan Bernier as well under contract, who's had major hip surgery. No guarantee what he can do next year, and it's expected that the Devils might try to find an upgrade between the pipes. So obviously Campbell's 30 years old. I would suspect that I thought maybe they might go for a younger goalie. Not that there's anything wrong with Campbell. He's proven himself quite well the last number of years, especially during his time with the Leafs. But at the same time, with the Devils having a much younger core and him being 30, I thought they might try to find a goalie closer to that 25-27 range that could kind of continue to grow with the younger group of players, like a Ville Husso, for example. And I think that's another option they're looking at here. So this is no guarantee they make this move, but the New York Post and Larry Brooks is reporting that there is reported interest from the Devils in Campbell, and if they want to make a trade, they might be aggressive enough to trade for his rights before they get to free agency. Of course, if he makes it to the open market on July 13th, he can speak to any other teams, but if they pick up his rights and they have some conversations with the Leafs, get permission to speak to him, then they might be able to work out a contract ahead of time and make him a New Jersey Devil before the free agent period opens to make sure they get their guy. And there is some suggestions that they could offer up in a trade Mackenzie Blackwood. Now, Blackwood has 1 year left on his contract at $2.8 million. Now, if he could be the starting guy for the Leafs and bounce back, that would help them out a ton when it comes to the salary cap. If their starting goalie was only making that kind of money. Now, it's only 1 year, but still, the Leafs seem to be quite content taking this 1 year at a time as they navigate through this difficult cap era where the cap's flat and not growing, and the team, of course, is trying to get more success and determining what they do next to make sure they can give themselves every opportunity to do that. It's quite a contrast here. You've got a goalie in Campbell who's 30 years old, pretty well maintained around a pretty steady .915 save percentage during his tenure with the Leafs. Even though there's been times, it's funny, because if you look at Jack Campbell's stats just year over year, they're pretty solid. And that's why I think he's going to be able to command probably more than $5 million on at least a 3, maybe 4 year deal. But there's certainly times, of course, I've seen a ton of Leaf games every year, and he seems to have stretches where he's amazing. Then he has stretches where he's really inconsistent. It all seems to level out, though, with a pretty good overall team number stat number for the year between the save percentage, goals against, whatever, But he's certainly not the most consistent guy out there. Now, of course, Mackenzie Blackwood hasn't been better in that regard. A couple years back, though, 18-19, 19-20, he was trending in the right direction. Looked like he was going to be the guy for the Devils, and now they seem to be losing confidence here. Like, he had a .918 save percentage and a .915 save percentage those 2 years, but then he fell down to a .902 and an .892. Like I said, but keep in mind, those are a limited number of games, less games in those years than the previous ones because of injuries, partially because of COVID. In that first, when the first NHL return, once the vaccine was available, he did miss some time. He did get vaccinated, but he was one of the players that were on the fence about it there for quite some time in the beginning too, and at the same time was battling, I believe it was like a heel problem. He's had some different feet problems, so we'll see. But I'm not sure that this is the best move for Toronto. Now, I guess if Campbell is not going to be able to be retained, if they get to that point that they're saying, you know what, we've done everything we can, we just can't pay this much for this guy, as much as we like him, we like to keep him, we can't afford that. I can understand why they might trade his rights to a team who has a better chance to sign him and get the deal done to get something in return. And if they can get access to another goaltender, that would be great. Mackenzie Blackwood, a 1 year, 2.8, would be a better option, though, if you're going to run a 1A, 1B or a starter and a backup to me. But they do have Peter Mrazek. I still am confident they're going to be able to move Mrazek, though, without doing a buyout. I have a strong feeling that Mrazek's going to end up in Chicago. That's just my kind of gut feeling. They could use him. They don't care about wins. They're going to bottom out. And really go for this tear-down rebuild and try to go for high picks the next few years. That's my take on the Blackhawks strategy. So I don't think that they would mind having that contract for Mrazek, and if he doesn't win many games, that's fine with them because that's where they're heading, right? So to me, and they need a goalie too. They don't really have much of anything under contract. So I think the Leafs can get Chicago to take that. They might have to entice them a bit with a sweetener, but something can be done, I'm sure. So if they move on from Mrazek, and if they do lose Campbell in free agency, if they get Mackenzie Blackwood, I'm not 100% convinced that he would go there strictly as a starter on his own. I think at that point, where he's only making 2.8, that they would consider bringing in another goalie to try to run a 1A, 1B scenario and not have too much money tied up between the pipes. I know there's been a lot of talk about maybe Matt Murray in Ottawa being a guy that they might look at too. And the only way that works is if the Senators are willing to eat half. They can retain 50% on the couple years that's left for Murray. And if they do that, they could possibly get Murray and Blackwood both, because they could have them two for pretty much the same price that Campbell's going to make, because Murray's making just over 6 and a quarter, so he would be 3.125 if the Sens retain 50%, and then they have Blackwood at 2.8. So then you're looking at two goalies for under $6 million. So I mean, at this rate, if they have to get Campbell at say 5.5, and then have another second goalie making at least $1 million or more, that's a way to do it, right? And then you have two guys that are probably overall both stronger than your backup, but maybe not good as Campbell. It's hard to say, right? I mean, Murray in the past has been better than Campbell, but he hasn't been lately. So I really don't know what the best scenario is here. But to me, if you're not going to sign Campbell, if you're going to lose him, you're best to get something in return. Be interesting to see what they do, but let me know what you think of this potential trade. Could we see Mackenzie Blackwood going to the Leafs for the rights to Jack Campbell, and Campbell be the Devils player that they sign to solidify their goaltending situation, since they can afford a little more money here to offer up than the Leafs could. Let me know your thoughts on that potential trade in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.